One of the favourites for the Tiger Cup, Indonesia, are back from a disappointing run at the Asian Cup and looking to stamp their authority on the Tiger Cup, beginning with a win against Minnows Philippines. The Indonesians will be looking at colourful striker Rocky Putre to deliver the goods against a Philippine side that has yet to win a match in 7 Tiger Cup outings since 1996. Stay with us here on Star Sports as Southeast Asian giants Indonesia play Philippines from Chiang Mai, Thailand.
A big hello to all our Asian viewers. Welcome to Star Sports coverage of the Tiger Cup. On our show today, we take a look at the Group A opening matches between Indonesia and the Philippines coming up in just a few minutes' time. And then later on this evening, we feature Thailand, one of the giants of the region, as they take on neighbours Myanmar. Now, that's in Group A, of course, but Group B did kick off yesterday, and we do have results there from Group B. Singapore, the defending champions, beating Cambodia by a score of 1-0. That's not a really good result for the champions. They've expected to score at least 3 against Minnows Cambodia. And then Vietnam, who were runners-up, they lost to Singapore 2 years ago in Vietnam. They drew with Malaysia by a score of 0-0. We take a look right now at the Singapore goal. It was a speculative cross sent in by Rafi Ali. The player there, I think, had no intention of taking a shot on goal. And while they were very happy at getting the goal, always a good feeling, of course, to break the duck against a team you expected to score many goals against. It didn't materialize, and Singapore will have only scored 1 goal, but still their coach Vincent Subramaniam says he is happy with the result. Vietnam and Malaysia there sharing the points. Both of them have 1 point each. Now, Group A features Indonesia, Myanmar, the Philippines and Thailand. Now, fans of the Tiger Cup will remember how a couple of years ago Indonesia and Thailand played out that strange game where both teams actually wanted to lose. Let's hope that this time when they meet, we don't have a repeat of that farcical encounter. It should be Thailand topping the group. Thailand are streets ahead of any Southeast Asian team. Indonesia and possibly Myanmar will be fighting for that second spot. The Philippines then will emerge as wooden spooners. I can almost confirm that. And they'll be hoping to just get even 1 victory from this entire Tiger Cup. Now, for fans who are not familiar with the format of the Tiger Cup, it is played every 2 years. It alternates with the ASEAN Games. The ASEAN Games also involve teams in the region. And there we have the lineup of Indonesia. Ali Sansoto, there, the captain. Ismat Sobien as well. And Rocky Putre, who should be doing fairly well against the Philippines. He'll be hoping to possibly emerge as top scorer, at least from this round, after all 3 rounds of games. Not too many people supporting them at the Chiang Mai Stadium. As you might imagine, this stadium will fill up once the Thai team plays later on. And meanwhile, we take a look at the Filipino lineup. The Philippines, not known as a footballing power. Basketball is their favourite sport, and they would be looking to improve on their result. They lost to Indonesia 3-0 in the opening match in the last Tiger Cup. They lost to Thailand 3-1 as well. And they lost to Myanmar 5-2 with a dismal record of losing 3, scoring only 3 goals and letting in 11. There we have the referee, Muhammad Nazri Abdullah from Malaysia. He'll be in charge of this game. It should be fairly cool weather in Chiang Mai, the northern hills of Thailand, of course. So, the Philippines, as I mentioned earlier, a dismal record, scoring only 3 goals in the last Tiger Cup. In the SEA Games, they also scored only 3. They let in 13, playing 4 and losing 4 games. And I do believe we do have commentary right now from the Chiang Mai 700th Anniversary Stadium. Calling all the action are David Bashir and Scott O'Donnell. We hope you enjoy the action. See you at half-time.
And welcome to the 700th Anniversary Stadium in Chiang Mai. Should be a fabulous start to Group A action. Of course, Group B commenced last night at Chiang Mai Stadium. With Cambodia going down by 1-0 to Singapore and Malaysia playing a 0-0 draw with Vietnam. But all's in readiness for this particular encounter.
Disappointing for the Indonesian supporters not having their 2 main strikers in the team for the Tiger Cup squad. Rocky Putre, who's been called back to his club in Hong Kong, instant Dick, and also Bambang, who's also been called back to his Dutch club. So they're without their 2 main strikers. But I think their coach, Nanda Iskander, has said that he'll only miss basically Rocky. He'll be quite happy with the young boy who's going to come in and replace him, who I believe is Bento.
Now, those two players were good players at the Asian Cup in Lebanon. And of course, Indonesia will still start an overwhelming favourite. The Philippines are still really trying to find their feet at this level. They were absolutely thrashed in the 1996 Tiger Cup. They were goalless. And 1998, they put a couple past their opponents. They were beaten 8-0 in a qualifier for the Asian Cup by China. They beat Guam 2-0, which was their only victory. But I think all in all, the Philippines will struggle in this particular tournament. It'll be very interesting to see the way Indonesia approach this, Scott, because we saw them in the Asian Cup. They failed to score a goal, but they matched it with Kuwait, a 0-0 draw.
I saw them play a friendly game against Singapore midweek last week, and although their coach said they didn't field their first 11, they still look quite impressive. They got beaten 1-0 by Singapore, but overall it was quite an even game, and without their two main strikers, I thought they did quite well.
Philippines were beaten 5-0 by Thailand in 1996 of the Asian Cup, 7-0 by Malaysia. In 1998, a little bit of an improved performance, 3-0 by Indonesia, 3-1 by Thailand. They were beaten in 5-2 by Myanmar. But I think it was in the Asian Cup qualifiers that they came back to earth. They were improved in the last Tiger Cup, but they were thrashed 9-0 by Thailand in the SEA Games of 1999. 2-0. They had that victory over Guam, as I mentioned, and they lost 3-0 to Vietnam as well as an 8-0 loss to China. So the Philippines are still very much learning to compete at this level. Indonesia, with the loss of the two strikers, will start a second favourite clearly to Thailand, who, with Kiatasak, the superstar back from Huddersfield in England, I think he'll be definitely the player to lift Thailand.
It's interesting that there's only 5 players in the Philippines team that have survived since the 1998 Tiger Cup, and their new coach has, who's taken over from Australian Juan Catilas, is a former national team sweeper, and he's set quite a modest target for the Philippines in simply winning their first game in a Tiger Cup. And as long as they don't get embarrassed by the stronger teams, they'll be relatively happy.
Rodolfo Alicante is the coach of the Philippines, succeeding Juan Catilas, who led them to the last Tiger Cup in Vietnam. It's a free kick to Indonesia. Took a deflection. So it's a corner there. It's the Indonesian number 11, Bima Sakti, who captained Indonesia in their last group match of the Asian Cup. They were beaten 3-0 by Korea. When you look at their performances, 0-0 with Kuwait, who made the second phase, 4-0 to China, and that wasn't a disgrace because China went on to, of course, shape the finals. And Korea, they lost 3-0. So I think overall, they didn't score a goal, but they were pretty competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did. They would have been happy to make the Asian Cup finals, and as I said when I saw them play Singapore last week, the number 7, who looks like he's playing as a left wing back, Sawandi, really impressed me in the first half against Singapore. He played as a central defender, and then in the second half played as a wing back, and he looked very strong in the tackle and quite good going forward.
Philippines in the blue, defending at the moment. Indonesia have possession across their midfield. Player going down, and that's a clear foul. The offending player there for the Philippines is Raymond Tonog, the number 5. And a poorly taken free kick. Well, early on, Indonesia hasn't really pressured the Philippines goal. That was Iko, the number 6. And they push forward once again. Clipped back from that byline and kept in, or was it? No, it looked to be over the line. That's Nawawi. Uston. He looks to be playing an advanced role in midfield. And the goalkeeper for the Philippines is the number 1, Edmundo Mercado. Philippines now have possession. It's quickly turned over. And looking at some of the better players for Indonesia, Aji Santosa is pretty quick. The number 4 likes to get forward. Ishmad Sofan is another of the defenders, very solid. And Bima Sakti was suspended for the first match but played the next 2 in the Asian Cup. So it'd be very interesting to see the way they line up. There's the number 8 for Indonesia, and that's Mateus Sita. Played a couple of times in the Asian Cup. Aji Santosa, also one of the defenders to look out for. They have possession now ahead of midfield. There's a player on the right. Bit of movement here for Indonesia, but that final touch was not what they would have wanted. And already the number 9, Scott, has been fairly active, Uston.
Yeah, he's looked quite impressive there. Look, Philippines will have to keep their eye on him. He looked quite impressive. Makes some good runs off the ball, and they'll have to keep an eye on him if they're to keep the score down. And I think that's what they'll be trying to do tonight. They won't be. They know they're not going to win this game, but if they can come out of it with a respectable score, they'll be happy.
A little bit of gaps appearing. There's Uston once again, who's patrolling that midfield area quite well. The overlap is on, but the attack is mounted through the middle, and that wasn't the option. He had the player on the right making the run. There's Lala, the defender. Aji Santosa, who's got the captain's armband on. He's a very strong defender and one of their better players. And Nanda Iskandar, the coach of Indonesia.
One of the players who impressed me for Indonesia is the number 10, Kurniawan, who looks very good on the ball. He's not scared to take players on. Just ran offside just then, but he looked very dangerous on the ball, and should be a thorn in the Philippines' defence tonight.
He was one of their better strikers in Lebanon. He had a couple of clear-cut chances, but failed to find the back of the net. He's a very quick player and makes good runs off the ball as well. And here Indonesia mount an attack on the right. Good cut inside. Chance in the middle. Keeper comes out and did pretty well in the end. He was fouled. Player making the run through the middle was the Indonesian number 12. And that's Miro Baldo. Bento is his full name. Mundo Mercado is the man in goal for the Philippines. But it's now on the march, Kaniawan, who cuts back. A promising move, but another poor finish, and this time for Uston, who floated into the box. Kaniawan did all the hard work on the left and cut a swathe through that defensive threesome.
You'd expect him to do much better than that. Kaniawan did a great job getting down to the line. He cut it back beautifully. Maybe got a bobble there, but he's still got to try and hit the target from that range.
There was no marking on Uston. Kaniawan was allowed to float down the left too with a great deal of freedom.
It's not looking promising for the Philippines if the Indonesians are making inroads as easily as they are in the opening minutes of this game.
So a free kick to the Philippines now. 11 minutes in. Koman Prucha is the Indonesian goalkeeper and gets to the near post quite comfortably. Well, the Philippines have 3 Fejadero, 2 brothers, Norman and David. Norman the oldest, and Troy, who's a cousin. And they're both, well, they're all from the island of Negros, all mad football players from the Philippines region. It'll be interesting to see their impact in the tournament, as that shot was fairly tame just outside the area. Kaniawan again involved. It's going to be very interesting to see the way the Philippines and Myanmar perform in the Tiger Cup, because they're in the toughest group really. Indonesia and the Thailand, 2 form sides as far as Asian Cup form is concerned. 2 Asian Cup representatives in the Tiger Cup, and in particular Thailand. It'll be very interesting to see the way they perform in front of home fans a bit later on this evening.
I think the important thing for the Philippines team is to just try and keep their shape. There's no use pushing forward in numbers if they know they may lose possession and get caught out, but if they keep their shape, hold their lines at the back and do a good marking job and be a little bit disciplined, they might be able to cause the Indonesian team to be a little bit frustrated. So it's important that they keep their shape and they hold their positions and they be a bit disciplined when they haven't got the ball.
Nieto is the number 4 for the Philippines. They've got a fairly young squad. A couple of more experienced players in their defence. They've kept the bulk of their squad from 2 years ago in the Tiger Cup. Here's Uston, who's really patrolling that midfield area. Spreads it out nicely. And a little bit disorganised to the back, the Philippines. You can see their formation. A couple of defenders not really knowing where their man is. And that was a comment from both coaches of the Philippines and Myanmar that when they've got control of the ball, they look quite solid, but it's when they're off the ball and they have to keep their shape and composure at the back, they can look a little bit suspect. It's Miro Bento.
There's an interesting quote by the both coaches there about when they've got the ball. It's all well and good to be able to play when you've got the ball, but it's just as important when you haven't got the ball to know where your positioning is. Otherwise, you're going to concede goals because you're going to lose shape and you're going to lose your markers.
And that's all about playing at this level for a period of time. And the Philippines added a little bit of defensive steel to their game 2 years ago compared to 1996. You can see their results have steadily improved. They've been punctuated by improvement and then lapses in concentration. They've copped some pretty heavy defeats. Obviously their programs aren't as advanced as in China and Thailand, who's got an excellent program with Coach Peter With, and that's a good ball down the left. Cutting back inside was Bento, and he shoots but just curls wide of that back post. A nice move though by Miro Bento. Looks like a useful wide player for Indonesia.
He's only a young player, but he's got plenty of talent and he's got plenty of confidence, and as you can see there, he wasn't scared to take on the players, to come inside and then have a go from the edge of the 18-yard box. It was a good effort.
They get players forward once again, and that was just a little bit of a lack of understanding on the right there for Indonesia. Making the run there was Ishmad Sofan, who we saw quite a lot of in Lebanon in the Asian Cup. He's a defender that likes to get forward, not scared of leaving his man and taking some risks. Played all 3 games in Lebanon.
I think the player the Philippines will be looking for is to do some damage, if they can do any damage at all, to the Indonesian defence, is the number 6, Freddy Gonzales, who by all accounts is a speed demon and can cause some troubles. I believe he's just signed a contract with French 2nd Division team Calais, so it'll be interesting to see whether he gets any service and the support required to do some damage up front.
We may see Freddie Gonzalez making his mark as a player went down for a spectacular swan dive on the edge of the area. Looked very nice, and I think the referee would have appreciated the theatrics, but he certainly didn't press the whistle to the mouth area. And possession now with Indonesia, and this is a good move down the left again. Haji Santosa, the captain, holds it up. And they need some succinctness and work through the middle. Good run. It's a very difficult ball to play over a flat defence, and it nearly came off there. Player was Miro Bento making the run through the middle, so he's quite flexible, can make his attacks from the left-hand side as well as tracking through the middle of the Philippines defence. And that was a sight of Norman Figueroa, who's 30 years of age. He's the oldest of the 3 relations. Obviously playing an advanced role, so maybe he's partnering Freddy Gonzalez up front. It's pretty hard to make out the Philippines system at the moment, Scott. They look to be quite congested and bunched in midfield.
Yeah, I think they look rather disorganised at the back there, and it's important, as I said earlier, to try and get some sort of shape, whether they're going to play a zonal defence or a man-to-man marking defence. I'd be more inclined to play a zonal defence here against Indonesia. They're getting plenty of numbers behind the ball, but I'm just a bit concerned about their positioning. Important for Indonesia not to get frustrated when things don't go right. I think if they're a bit patient and they keep possession of the ball, eventually the opportunities will come.
So 19 minutes in, and it's Indonesia 0, the Philippines 0. This match being brought to you from Chiang Mai, the 3rd match in the Tiger Cup of the year 2000. The defending champions, of course, Singapore, who won last night. And the player clip there was Kurniawan. So a free kick from range here for Indonesia, who don't mind launching their long-range shot. And that's a good header. I was about to say he got inside his marker. Thought he'd make a clear contact with the header. And Uston can't get the shot away. Blocked well by the defence. The Philippines come out. Potential break here. Here's Marco Nito on the right. Squeezed between 2 defenders. Now the Indonesia deal with it, but they don't deal with it that well. And there was a player getting through the middle. That was Freddie Gonzalez, who made that excellent run and caught the defence napping there, forcing the save out of the Indonesian goalkeeper.
sloppy defending there by the Indonesians, and that's what they've got to be careful of. They mightn't have too much work to do tonight, but the work they are called upon to do, they have to make sure they do it properly. Otherwise, you may have a player like Freddy Gonzales to nip in there, and he's forced a corner here for the Philippines.
Taken to the back post, and the players went up, but mistimed their leaps, and it's cleared away by Indonesia. A couple of times Komang Putra has been tested in the Indonesian goal, and that was a very good run by Freddy Gonzalez. It's not hard to see why he's been snapped up in France on that particular run. Very athletic to get through two defenders. Yeah, it was good running, and it's obviously football isn't the most popular sport in the Philippines, but it's a great effort for a Philippines player to earn a contract in Europe. It was interesting to read the Philippines coach Rodolfo Alicante talking about the lack of government support for football in the Philippines, and in particular the national team, but they've actually now injected some money into the youth development, so maybe 5 or 10 years down the track we might see in the Tiger Cup 5 or 10 years later a stronger Philippines team. I think the political situation in the Philippines goes hand in hand with the way their sport is played. It's clipped in early. Good ball this back post. There's a chance there for Kaniawan, who was making that run, but well defended by David Ficadero. A corner here for Indonesia. They haven't got an overly tall side. Mateus Sater to the near post, and it's cleared quite effectively. Aji Santosa traps it nicely, and that's the good part of Indonesia's game, is they can hold on to the ball quite effectively, although that final pass was a very poor from Bima Sakti, one of their more experienced players. I think that's the great improvement in Thai and Indonesian football, the fact that they can now string passes together, look a lot more composed at the back and through midfield, and the finishing of the Thais at the Asian Cup was quite impressive. Perhaps that was the difference between Thailand and Indonesia. Indonesia didn't quite have that sort of potency in their forward third.
Yeah, Thailand are undoubtedly the benchmark for the Southeast Asian countries to follow. They've got some great players, and as you said, they perform admirably in the Asian Cup, and they're not scared. They back themselves, and they're not scared to take a shot and to take players on, which is important. We saw the Philippines earlier on trying to play the offside trap. I don't know whether that's such a good idea, the way their defence is organised at the moment. I think they're going to get themselves into trouble. I think they'd be better off playing man for man and maybe having a sweeper or a player dropping off just to cover the balls through, because at the moment they don't look very well organised. There's plenty of numbers there, but the organisation leaves a little bit to be desired.
Player warming up for Indonesia, Sugiantoro. Looks a big player too. Perhaps a defensive type. That was a poorly executed free kick. Really need to make the Philippines defend. Great shot. Fantastic skill there, coming in from the number 8 for Indonesia, and that is Mateus Sater, who killed it dead with the first touch. The hook from Austin, and look at that for skill.
Yeah, beautifully brought down there. You've got to question the marking there, but that was a great shot, and in the end a good save by the keeper. As you can see there, they played the Philippines. Most of the defence pushed up, and one player stayed back, kept him on side, and he pulled it down. Great shot, all in the one action, and in the end a good reflex save.
So look out for Mateus Sater in the tournament on that piece of skill. We didn't see much of it at the Asian Cup. He was tending to be a little bit more defensive, obviously against greater quality of opposition, but I think these type of players will look to express themselves a lot more in this tournament. And that was a brilliant piece of work. Would have got Indonesia's Tiger Cup off to a roaring start if he could convert from there. Sugiantoro, early move this for Indonesia. So the big number 5 comes on. The player coming off is Miro Bento. Not quite sure why. He's had a bit of an influence on that left-hand flank. In fact, Dejad Lala is the player off. Looked Miro Bento came over for a drink. It was a little bit out of shot, so the big player will slot in at the back, you would think. Let's have a look at the formation now. Uston is patrolling that midfield very effectively. And that was the first touch for the big defender.
It's an interesting substitution. I'd be interested to see whether Lala is injured, because Sugiantoro was a regular in the Indonesian team up until this year. So whether it's an injury or just a tactical ploy by Nanda Iskandar will be interesting to see.
And they'll miss Rocky because we know he plays his club football in Hong Kong and he thrills the crowd with his various forms of hairstyles, but he's a good finisher. He's a genuine electrifying type striker. Great pace and a good finisher as well.
Yeah, he's a good player to have in the team. He actually trialled here in Singapore last year, and there was a problem with his ITC that didn't allow him to play for Tampines. And even the few times he was at training, he was a character to have around the team, but also you could see the talent that he had, and as you said, the electrifying pace. He would have been a danger to any defence.
Philippines are now being stretched fully at the back, but can Indonesia make them pay? That's a lovely ball in behind the defence. Aji Santosa makes a good run, but a fine piece of defending there by Marco Nito. A couple of times he's got back and done some good work. So 2 years ago, the Tiger Cup, these two teams met and Indonesia won 3-0. Judged their performance based on that result. It was 1-0 at half-time. Indonesia finished second in their particular group behind Thailand. And of course, the Philippines were winless, but not goalless, and that's the important thing. They went goalless in 1996, but they had some success on the score sheet 2 years ago. Putting 2 past Myanmar, but losing 5-2 and scoring against Thailand. That would have been a highlight in losing 3-1. Aji Santosa will lead from the back. He's also a player that likes to get forward as well.
Indonesia have been fairly consistent in the Southeast Asian tournaments, semi-finalists in the last 2 Tiger Cups, so they'll be looking for nothing less than a semi-final berth, and I'd find it hard to believe that they won't make the semi-finals looking at the group they're in here. Obviously them and Indonesia and Thailand are the main contenders for Group A, and nothing less than a semi-final berth will do for their coach Nanda Iskandar, who was said in the press that after the last Tiger Cup debacle in the semi-final against Thailand, that brought shame on the country, that they've got to go out this year and try and win it.
I think for a lot of reasons, that's why Indonesia will primarily be motivated to perform well here. It was very well documented, but brought disgrace to their football. It's a sad day, really, but that's all in the past, and Indonesia performed with some distinction in the Asian Cup, and they'll be hoping to continue with that sort of form here in the Tiger Cup. But funny things can happen in this game. We saw last night Vietnam start a very, very warm favourite against Malaysia, but failed to find the back of the net. Malaysians performed very well, especially in the second half. That's a save down to his right by Edmundo Mercado.
It was interesting to read Alfred Riedel's comments after the game last night regarding they weren't in a position to lose that game, so they didn't. So I think halfway through the second half they were willing to sit back for a draw, because he said if you lose the opening game, it makes it hard to get back for the semi-finals.
I think Indonesia and Thailand will have a little bit more of a crack really at this group, because it's a lot more open than Group B. But early on, the Philippines, whilst they're looking a little bit disorganised, are doing the job. But for how long they can hold on remains to be seen. Because Kurniawan is a quality striker. Uston is a very good player. So is the captain, Santosa, and that's a bad mistake. 1-2 play, goal here for the captain, yes! Aji Santosa scores. That is a brilliant finish, because the ball was behind him when he made contact with the boot and just clipped it over the goalkeeper. And Indonesia scored the opener here in Chiang Mai. Lovely 1-2 play, but you've got to question the defending there by the Philippines.
Yeah, very sloppy defending there, and if they defend like that, they're going to get punished. Once again, you could see the player on the left-hand side, and the number 14 there kept them on side. But it was a great run, a great 1-2, and in the end, a great finish. Keeper had no chance.
We talked about Aji Santosa's appetite for getting forward, and look at that for a finish. Completely fooled the goalkeeper, who was down, ready to make the save. So the captain opens the account for Indonesia, and perhaps will open the floodgates. Well, it'll be very interesting to see the way the Philippines reply here. They'll just have to keep their composure, because traditionally Indonesia is a team that when it gets a bit of confidence can be a very dangerous proposition. It's a long ball played in. Freddy Gonzalez, I think, the player getting the header there for the Philippines, but aimlessly rolling to the goalkeeper, who made a very easy save, Kamang Putra. The heads are up now for the Indonesians. Kurniawan attempts the cross and then tries to bundle his defender out of the equation, but has the class to flick the ball back. Now the Philippines defence pushes up, so it forces Indonesia back. Good ball down the line, just a little bit ill-directed for Aji Santosa. Well, he's patrolling that to flank very effectively. He's a classic, not sure how you'd actually describe him. He's more an attacking midfielder. I was going to say overlapping fullback, but he gets back. I think he's a lot more comfortable in the Philippines half of the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. He's seeing a lot of the ball, and as this game wears on, I say we're going to be seeing a lot more of him. He doesn't have to do much defending, because most of the play is in the Philippines half. And maybe if I was the Philippines coach, I would be more inclined to maybe let the Indonesian team have it in their own half and get back and try and concentrate the space in their own defending half, and making it hard for the Indonesians to break through.
That was a good athletic clearance. Coming in from Sugiantoro. And a move also for the Philippines. So the coach feeling perhaps the system's not quite right. Rodolfo Alicante is the Philippines coach. Just a replay of that long throw. I think he was surprised to find it on the head there, Freddie Gonzalez, but it's the Australian-based player who's about to come on.
It's interesting that the Philippines have, as you just mentioned, the number 16 Lee gun, an Australian born player, and also Daniel Sleed, who is an American born player. So they're both on the bench, and it looks like Lee Gunn is going to be coming on shortly.
So Lee Gunn plays State League, I believe, in New South Wales. Comes on, and he replaces the number 10, Norman Figueroa. So that will make our job a little bit easier. There's only one left on the pitch, as opposed to 3 that are in the squad. It's clipped forward. Good run down the right. Looked to be a foul there, but no whistle on play. Player making that surging run is Miro Bento for Indonesia. Indonesians retain possession with a throw. And that's a foul picked out by the assistant. Defender there was pushed, so the Philippines, the pressure relieves somewhat of the back, but it'll only be momentary.
You can see there the Indonesian team in the midfield. They're getting all the time they want on the ball, and they're just being able to control it and pick out whoever they want to pass it to. And once again there, a cross that maybe could have been a little bit better. Bento would be disappointed with that, and I think he's getting a little bit frustrated in the match, giving away that silly foul then, but he's got to be patient. He's a young boy and he's got plenty of talent.
Player who's the last defender for Indonesia now, Sugi Yantoro, who's big number 5. This is a very good move, closed down quite effectively. Look at the wall of Philippine defenders. There was 3 players around the striker. And that won't worry Indonesia, because I think they're tending to crowd an overmark at the back and leaving gaps out wide.
Yeah, as we said before, if the Indonesian team are a bit more patient and they can spread the ball and keep possession of the ball, they'll eventually find the spaces to pass into and run into.
And just a reminder too, coming up a bit later on, the opening ceremony on Star Sports. And 8 o'clock Hong Kong time, Thailand versus Myanmar. Thailand opening their Tiger Cup campaign in Chiang Mai, and it should be a marvellous match. Big crowd expected too. Here's a chance, great piece of work there. And again, the finish was not there by Kaniawan, who's usually an expert finisher, but it was superb work before that by Mateus Sater, who showed some marvellous skill in the first half.
Some great individual skill there, taking the player on, unselfishly laid it off to Kaniawan, and a disappointing finish. He'd be very disappointed with himself. He'd be expected to at least hit the target in that situation.
Kaniawan, specialist striker, just outside the 6-yard box, cut back in expert fashion. That would definitely be a missed and a golden missed opportunity for the Indonesian number 10. Offside flag up. I've tended just to switch the forward third a little bit. Miro Bento now operating alongside Kaniawan. Of course, his regular partner Rocky is not playing in the tournament, and they combine very well, those two. Sunandi giving away the foul. So free kick here for the Philippines. This will be interesting from the dead ball. Let's see what they can conjure. Raymond Tonog is over the ball. He delivers a very well-placed free kick, and I think it was tipped onto the bar by the goalkeeper, Komang Putra. Well, that was hit from 30 metres out. and it was struck superbly.
I'm not sure that the keeper even got a hand on this. I think it may have just hit the bar. It was a good effort. And I think it took the Indonesian keeper by surprise.
I think we may have been paying credit where it wasn't necessary to Komeng Putra. There's an Indonesian player going down to the box, Kurniawan. Mercado was the Philippines goalkeeper. Just cleared with haste, conceding the corner. And now they'll have to reorganise at the back, but there were 6 defenders in the 6-yard box. Basically, they're not man-marking at the moment, the Philippines, brought down by Kurniawan. But Ustam was flat-footed and allows the Philippines to come out. Perhaps the counter-attack. Good run this by Freddy Gonzalez through the middle. And his first touch just let him down. Well, he's got the pace, and if that was killed dead, he definitely would have been in a goal-scoring situation there.
That free kick from Bernard Go that hit the post has maybe given the Philippines a little bit of confidence there, as we saw there. That touch by Gonzalez just let him down, but he was definitely through there, and there was an opportunity there to maybe get a shot on target. The Indonesian side have to make sure they're not complacent at the back there, because someone like that with the pace of Freddy Gonzalez could cause them some damage.
So we're 42 minutes into the first half. Chiang Mai, and it's Indonesia 1, the Philippines 0. The third match of the Tiger Cup 2000 after Group B kicked off last night, and that's a good long searching ball. And a little bit too much carry, but the intention was there, and I'm sure if Indonesia can mix it up with some long stuff and the close skills they've displayed, it's exactly the way to break up a very determined Philippines defence. If they stick to a one-dimensional game, it makes them a lot easier to mark. And that's good skill through the middle. Freddie Gonzalez again nearly played through. Well, a couple of times he's been a little bit disappointing. He's had the ball at feet, and all he needed was a succinct first touch, and he was away. Yeah,
his first touch is obviously letting him down, but the number 4 for the Philippines, Marco Nito, has impressed me. He looks like he's playing on the right, but he looks comfortable on the ball, and he's done some good defensive work as well. So he's one of the standout players for the Philippines for me in the first half, along with their central defender number 17, David Figueroa. But they need more support from their teammates to be a bit more composed on the ball.
And 1-2. Miro Bento almost played through there by Kurniawan. Those two will have to just forge an understanding. It's not their natural partnership for Indonesia. Ishmael Selfan is the number 4 that we've seen operate on the right-hand side. We've got the captain on the left, Aji Santosa. They spread it around quite easily. Philippines quite happy to just concede possession. A minute of time added on. Still time for Indonesia. Forced to deep in the corner, and that is a corner. Well, they have time to get players forward. I've noticed that Sugiantoro, the big number 5, who's clearly the tallest player on the pitch, doesn't come forward for the set piece, and we may see him creep near the 6-yard box with only a minute to go. And that's a free header, and it's cleared off the line. Well, there's a lack of real man marking in the 18-yard box by the Philippines. It's allowing the Indonesians too many free possessions. Freddie Gonzalez checked, but the advantage played. Chance here for the Philippines. That's a useful ball in, and again just taken off the chest and taken away from that wing player streaming forward. That's not the clearance that Indonesia would have been looking for, with only seconds remaining before half-time. Obviously, the technique of the Philippines players is quite up to the Indonesians. But on the break, they look fairly threatening. Their pace is quite electrifying.
Yeah, it's just that the final touch and the final pass is letting them down. If they get the ball under control and get a little bit more support up front, they could cause some damage. But that last Indonesian corner, there's no excuse for the poor marking there by the Philippines, because they had the numbers there in the box. They just had no one actually taking the responsibility to mark the individual players, and they've got to sort that situation out at half-time if they're going to not concede any goals from set plays.
Miro Bento just copying a knock to the mouth area, and that is half-time. The match has been played at Chiang Mai Stadium, and it's the start of the action in Group A. Indonesia with a pretty impressive first half, set up by that man Aji Santosa, who brilliantly chipped the goalkeeper in the middle of the half. And there were standout players, Kaniawan, Uston and Mateus Seda. Philippines weren't that disgraced in the first half, but after 45 minutes, it's Indonesia 1, the Philippines 0.
Thank you very much, our commentators from Chiang Mai. So at halftime then, Indonesia leading Minnows Philippines by 1-0. And you have to wonder, though, how many more goals will Indonesia score in the second half. Now we take a break, but do stay with us, because Scott O'Donnell will join me for our halftime analysis. And as we go for that break, we remind you that you can catch all the action from the Tiger Cup right here on Star Sports. Stay with us now.
Coming up on Star Sports, the hosts and 1996 champions Thailand begin their challenge for the Tiger Cup against Myanmar. It's a trophy Thailand coach Peter With is desperate to win. You can see all the action from Chiang Mai beginning at 8 p.m. Hong Kong.
How long's the break? 3 minutes? 2 or 3? Wow. Okay. Good thing you're still fit, huh? No, not yet. Yeah. Hey, Scott. Fast trip from Thailand.
I thought I was going to do the commentating there. I was in the booth and David wasn't there. I thought, what?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Right. 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 Okay. Right. Right. Okay. After highlights, come back to us, we'll go to a break, right? Okay. 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 Scott, when we come back, it'll be on a bumper, it'll be on a graphic of the score. I'll voice over that. It'll come back to us. We'll come everything, and we'll have a quick assessment of the half, and then we'll go to highlights. We're going to talk over the highlights. Okay. Then after that, we'll come back to us again. We'll both chat, and then Joe will cue me when he wants me to wrap up, and then go to a break.
Okay.
Well, the funny thing is, I was trying to figure out what kind of formation in the Philippines are playing. It's like 6-3-1, 3-6-1, 5-6.
I don't think they know what formation they're playing with.
Yeah. Okay, 15 seconds. All right then, welcome back to Star Sports. We are featuring the Tiger Cup Group A opening matches between Indonesia and the Philippines. Later on, of course, we have Thailand taking on Myanmar. But at halftime between Indonesia and the Philippines, favourites Indonesia are leading by 1-0, scored by Aji Santoso in the 32nd minute. With me in the studio at halftime for our analysis is Scott O'Donnell. Hi there, Scott. Glad you can join us in our studio. Now, it's rather surprising that Indonesia are only up by 1-0.
Yeah, they've definitely had the majority of the game, and I think they may be getting a little bit frustrated there. They're getting all possession, but the Philippines, they're getting numbers behind the ball, and it's making it hard for the Philippines to penetrate.
Now, there were some good moments, though, in the first half. We take a look right now of the highlights in our first 45 minutes. Scott and I will be taking you through the highlights. They got off well, though. Indonesia, Kurniawan has been impressive, Scott, with his good pace.
Yeah, he's a great player. He's got a great touch, and he set that up very well for the number 9.
Uston, yeah, that was wasteful, though. I mean, at this level, against the Philippines, you cannot waste chances like that.
I mean, he even had the time to control that and maybe take a second touch, but he didn't get a call. He tried to go first time, and it was a disappointing shot.
Well, Indonesia once again coming down. Nero Bento, good work there by Bento, and then trying to curve. Perhaps you should have looked up. He has a player right at the top of your screen there.
Yeah, he did well by taking the player on, coming inside, and for a young boy, he had the confidence to go and have a go, and with a better executed shot, he may have hit the net.
You picked out this man, Nieto, as being very impressive. He was good, he was strong all throughout the first half, and he's been very, very aggressive then. In fact, it was his persistence, I reckon, that gave Gonzalez that opening to take a shot on goal.
Definitely, it was. He had no chance of getting the ball, but he put a little bit of pressure on the Indonesian defence, and it was sloppy defending.
A good shot there by Seta, and I think the Philippines at this point in time, you would have felt, although they were disorganised in the middle of the park, they were stopping the Indonesians.
Yeah, I mean, they've got so many numbers there in the back, and as I said during the commentary, that it's important they don't try and play the offside. As you saw, they tried it then, but one player wasn't, and this is a goal.
Yeah, this is a good goal there. And you know, interesting thing, Scott, is that they've tried going down the flanks, no success there. They decided to go 1-2 down the middle of the park in the centre, and that was a good finish from Santoso.
Yeah, it was a great finish and a great one too. And you can see there the Philippines had 4 players in the area, but that pass just cut out all 4 of them. And Santoso was a great little scoop up and finish, and obviously the keeper had no chance, but he'd be wondering what his fellow defenders were doing there.
And another shot there where Seta, good close control, very unselfish, and again, that's wasteful.
Yeah, Kurniawan would be disappointed with that finish once again. It was a good lead-up play, and that's how they're going to break through the Philippine defence. Taking on a player, having the confidence to beat a player, and then maybe little 1-2 or short passes.
Well, this was a free kick that looked to be a save by the keeper, but from our angle on the screen, though, but it seemed to sail just over. And you reckon this is the only way the Philippines are going to get a goal through a set piece?
Yeah, well, it looks that way at the moment. And that Bernard Go, it was a great shot by him, and I think he caught the keeper by surprise. And after that effort, they looked like they got a little bit of confidence from that and stepped up a gear.
You know, in defence, you always look at either zonal defence or you look at man-to-man. The trouble is with the Philippines, Scott, they don't have the experience and the technical competence to go for zonal. Yet when it's man-to-man, they seem to lose their men every now and then.
Yeah, I don't know what system they're playing, but I mean, they're getting the numbers behind the ball. But as you said, playing a zonal defence requires a lot of skill and communication, and it looks like they haven't got that at the moment. So they'd be better off going man-to-man, I think. But as you said, the man-to-man marking leaves a little bit to be desired there.
All right, now goal difference will be, I think, could be a serious factor in this group, because obviously it's not just about winning games, it's also about avoiding a possible strong opponent from the other group. Do you think then that the Indonesian coach is going to push his players out, because 1-0 is not good enough, is it?
It's not good enough from the Indonesian point of view, but having said that, I think if they're patient and they play, I think the chances will come, and that's where I think Singapore could have come undone last night with only the 1-goal victory over Cambodia. That could be a vital statistic when it comes down to goal difference, if it does come down to goal difference at the end of the group phase.
Now, on goal difference as well, the Indonesians are missing 2 of their top strikers. Of course, Rocky Putre, we suspect he may have gone to his hairdressers for some more treatment for his hair. But he's been called back to his club, as has Bambang to his club as well. So do you think then that the Indonesians are going to miss these 2 deadly strikers?
I think they'll miss Rocky more than they'll miss Bambang. I think Kurniawan is a class player, and the young boy Bento, who's come in to replace Rocky, he's done well in the first half, and I saw him in the training game against Singapore last week, and he looked very impressive. So he's a young boy, he's got plenty of confidence, and I think maybe they might be missing the experience of Rocky and his finishing, because he's a deadly finisher and he's an entertaining player.
Thank you very much, Scott. All right, then we go for a quick break, but don't forget, we come back with more halftime analysis with myself and Scott O'Donnell. At halftime in Chiang Mai, it's Indonesia 1, the Philippines 0. Keep it right here on Star Sports.
The focus of Day 3 turns back to Group B as Malaysia face Laos in Songkhla. 2 years ago, Laos produced a shock scoreless draw against the Malaysians. A similar result will virtually end their hopes. It's a likely story for Vietnam against Cambodia. History books suggest an easy win for Vietnam after their 3-1 win against the Cambodians 4 years ago. All the action from day 3 of the Tiger Cup is on Tuesday, November the 7th at 5:30 p.m. Hong Kong.
Keep it going because
Well, there you have Scott O'Donnell's half-time analysis. Look there at the goal scorer, Aji Santoso, a very useful player, very strong in defense, very fleet-footed in attack, and he'll be hoping that his team can score a few more goals in the second half. The referee's about ready to start the game. We should have commentary for you in just a few moments' time. Bearing in mind, of course, later on, Thailand will take on Myanmar in what should be a fairly entertaining encounter. Your match commentator is David Bashir.
Chiang Mai is the venue. The 700th anniversary stadium is where the Philippines and Indonesia are doing battle, and Indonesia take a 1-0 lead into the second half, courtesy of a very nice finish by Aji Santosa, their captain, midway through the half, chipping the goalkeeper and giving the Indonesians that goal buffer. And I'm sure they would have gone to half-time, and there would have been some words said from Nanda Riskanda, who wouldn't have been overly impressed with the performance. The Philippines looked a bit disorganised at the back, and as a result, Indonesia created probably 3 or 4 direct opportunities at goal and could only convert once. And there's the striker just giving away the foul, Miro Bento, who basically replaces Rocky Putere, who's the player who plays his club football in Hong Kong. Wasn't released by his club, so that's a loss for Indonesia. And of course, Bamban plays in Holland for a 3rd division club, and another player that was not released after the Asian Cup. It's a big hole in their club fixtures. I'm sure the clubs have felt that they're paying the wages of the players, and they shouldn't have them too far from home. Gives an opportunity for Miro Bento and a couple of other players as well. The Philippines get forward in numbers through midfield, but it's chopped out well, and the defending has been a little bit ragged at times. Edmundo Mercado's done a fair job in goal for the Philippines. I suppose, Scott, when do you stop learning and start performing? And that's the big question with countries like the Philippines. Obviously, it's a very steep learning curve against more advanced nations. They showed enough, I suppose, in the first half when they got clear to really worry the Indonesian defence.
Yeah, they caused some trouble there on a couple of occasions, and it's important that they keep this score respectable, and that's one of their aims in this tournament, to play against the likes of Thailand and Indonesia, because they won't be getting through to the next phase, but they're playing Indonesia and Thailand, and they'll be looking to get respectable results. And if they do that, I think they'll consider this tournament a success. Remembering that they got beaten 9-0 by Thailand in last year's SEA Games.
That's a huge thrashing in the SEA Games. They had a 2-0 victory over Guam in the Asian Cup qualifiers. Then a couple of heavy losses, 8-0 to China and 3-0 to Vietnam. Certainly no disgrace, because Vietnam, one of the favourites to win a path to the semi-finals in the Tiger Cup. Indonesia have possession. Down the left flank was their most potent flank of attacking in the first half. Aji Santosa, the player that was operating down that corridor. And there's the big sweeper, Suki Yantoro, who came on early in the first half, and I think he's done a pretty good job. Hasn't had a lot of work to do, but he's an imposing figure at the back.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's built like a typical central defender, and he's quite dominating in the air. And he's, as I said earlier, he's normally a regular in the team, so it's surprising to see him on the bench.
Corner here for the Philippines, swung to the back post, but really when you look at their opportunities, they'll be given limited opportunities from the set piece. They'll need to construct things a little bit better than that. They had a crowded near post area, and the player for the Philippines, Marlon Pinero, just blasted to the back post where there was no blue shirts.
It's an aspect of the games, not only tonight but last night as well. The poorly taken corners, as you said, David. They might get limited opportunities, so they can't afford to waste them and give possession away so easily.
You saw before Persian Temperosa about to come on for the Philippines. He was limbering up anyway on the touchline, so perhaps another move. Ishmael Selfan, who's the right wing back, not as attacking as his captain Aji Santosa. And this is a good surging run through the middle. It's made by Mateus Seita, who was a very good player in the first half. I like his finesse on the ball. I think he's got great variety, the number 8. And a worrying time here for the Philippines defence. Another corner to Indonesia. There's a lot of gaps there to take it short, but he swings it into the face of the area. And that's a long-range shot knocked in, but fairly ambitious in the end. The player taking the shot for Indonesia, Bima Sakti, who operates out of midfield. He's more the holding defensive midfielder. Uston plays a little bit more advanced. And Mateus Seita also in the middle of the park for Indonesia. Two front runners, Kurniawan and Miro Bento. We'll see that a number of times. You mentioned perhaps pressing the point a little bit too much, but the Philippines can get two bodies to the ball, really waste their manpower. And I think that's where the openings may present themselves for Indonesia.
See, most of the chances that Indonesia have had, they've actually taken on a player and then created that extra man and then put the ball in. So that's what they'll be looking to do again, and the Philippines are going to be careful not to dive in and to stay on their feet, the defenders.
I think without Rocky, they used to play the long ball game with Rocky in the team. Also, Bang Bang is a very quick player. Those two front runners offered blistering pace from that long diagonal ball, but that's not really going to happen, I don't think, with the front two here.
No, I think Kurniawan prefers the ball at his feet so he can turn and run at players, and so they may have to adjust their style of play slightly. It was interesting to read Nanda Iskander's assessment of Bambang when he came back for the Asian Cup, that he thinks his style of play has changed by playing in Holland, and it's not really suiting the Indonesian style of play. So that's why he feels that he won't be that missed in the Tiger Cup.
Well, his impact was minimal in Lebanon. And it appears that Marlon Pinero is coming off, or is it the number 4? There's some confusion with the 4th official. There's communications now with the Philippines bench.
I'd be surprised if the number 4's coming off, because I think he's been one of the best players.
He just came over to the touchline. I think it is Marlon Pinero coming off. Ishmael Selfan into the area. Nicely clipped in ball, but was well defended by the central markers there for the Philippines. That's a whistle on play. He's pleading innocence, but I think he gave away the clear foul. Bernardo Go Ali who cracked a beautiful free kick in the first half, crashing into the Indonesian crossbar from a long way out. Front on challenge.
I think the initial challenge there was fine. It's just that when he left his leg in there, and I think he may have used his arm to push the Indonesian player over.
This has been the longest substitution in football history, I would suggest. But Temperosa is on now, and it is Marco Nieto off. And that's a little bit of a surprise because he had a bit of an influence in the first half. And that's a shot that fully stretched the goalkeeper in from Ustan. Well, the Indonesians are warming to the task now.
It's a beautifully struck shot there. Good technique. He kept it low and had a lot of power on it. It was just the accuracy letting him down.
Mikado is going to be tested this half, you just feel.
Can only assume that the number 4 Marco Nieto is suffering some sort of injury, because I think he was one of the Philippines' best players in the first half and caused a little bit of damage down the right flank.
Suki Yantora. Sweeper rushes in. Haji Santosa plays it down the line. And this is a good move. Bento slips it through. Kinnear one. Lovely play here by Indonesia. And was the offside flag up? I think it was. It's a well orchestrated move. Ustan, the player, may have been offside. Good to see now, yes, creeps into an off. Well, it was only a matter of inches. And the linesman wasn't certainly parallel with the last defender either.
No, I think in the end it was offside, but it was good play by the Indonesians, and that's what they've got to do in this second half: keep possession of the ball, keep the ball on the ground, and play these short passes and running into space and create troubles for the Philippine defenders to track their opposition.
That's a good diagonal ball. Flag stays down. Big chance here for Indonesia. Great save at the near post. That was going in, but the goalkeeper down, and again Kinnear one denied. Well, he's done a pretty good job, Edmundo Mikado. It was hit quite sweetly by the Indonesian number 10. And the goalkeeper down smartly.
That was a great diagonal ball to find Kinnear one, and maybe he'll be a little bit disappointed with that. I think he may have been expected to score, but having said that, the angle was quite tight for him.
Here's Miro Bento. He's a good young player, isn't he? That final touch wasn't the best, but like the way he just glides around opponents. He's quite laconic and casual, but very effective. Very
confident on the ball, and he's looked dangerous every time he's got it. He's created a couple of chances so far, and I dare say he'll be heavily involved for the remainder of the half.
Kinnear one. Early ball in. All it needed was a touch in the middle, and it would have been Indonesia's second, but Kinnear one, this time providing the supply from the right-hand flank.
It's a great ball by Kinnear one.
Ustan, or the player in fact was Mateus Sater.
He played it with his wrong foot there. He should have had a go with his left foot or even a diving header, but he tried with the outside of his right foot. Very difficult to get from the angle the ball was coming. It's very difficult to get his right foot on that and keep it low and get it on target.
Ustan plays it square. Ishmat Sofan can't bring it down. Mateus Sater back to his fullback, who clips it in nicely to the box. Good knockdown header too. They're growing in confidence, Indonesia. I think their understanding, it's definitely a remodelled team, no question about that. Certainly Nanda Iskandar would have said to the younger players, this is your opportunity. Here's Freddy Gonzalez with the gallop. One defender to beat, but couldn't do it. So a couple of times he's got clear and looked threatening.
Unfortunately for the Philippines, Freddy Gonzalez is like a lone ranger up there. He's got the ball and he's got no support at all, so he's got to do everything himself. A bit of individual brilliance to try and beat the Indonesian defence.
I think he's got one pace, Freddie Gonzalez, and that's flat out, like his cousin Speedy. But I think he probably needs to learn to hold the ball up. But as you said, he hasn't got a lot of support, has he?
No, he's got to work on his first touch. Obviously, his first touch is letting him down and giving time for the Indonesian defence to get in there and maybe nip the ball away.
Philippines have it at the back, and a little bit of finessing gives away possession. This is a dangerous position to give it away to. Here's Miro Bento, took a deflection, goes in. Indonesia have their second goal. And too much finessing at the back. Well, it may have been Kurniawan. Well, Kurniawan looks to have scored his first goal. I thought it was Miro Bento getting free down the left. But nonetheless, Edmundo Mercado has been beaten by a cruel deflection, and it was Kurniawan who scores his first goal of the Tiger Cup.
Very poor defending there by the Philippine team. They had 3 players over there, and looked like they were playing a game of head tennis amongst themselves over on the right-hand side. They gave the ball away, and you can't leave the player of Kurniawan's class, give him possession on the edge of the 18-yard box. Poor old Mercado in goals. I think he's done quite well, and be very frustrated with that, the poor defending there by the Philippines.
Well, it's really the 5-yard clearance is not the way to clear the line at the back for the Philippines. They had a swarm of red shirts surrounding them too. It was a costly mistake.
And you're going to get punished if you defend like that with the likes of the Indonesians and the Thais. So they've got to be careful, because it could. They obviously want a respectable score, but to defend like that and clear the ball like that, it's they're asking for trouble.
Well, this is where the Philippines need to keep their heads up. Guiley with the throw. He's been one of their better players out of midfield. Freddy Gonzales has possession, but it's a vacant forward third for the Philippines. His partner is Untitled Chapter. He's been virtually unsighted. He's just playing in behind Freddy Gonzalez. It's very much throw players behind the ball and hope to keep your shape for the Philippines. When they get possession ahead of midfield, it's uncharted territory largely, and it's a long-range shot. They've been forced to really fire in a couple now. The substitute getting involved, Pergan Temperosa.
It's going to have to be a good shot to beat the keeper from 40 yards out. I think the Philippines would be better off trying to keep hold of the ball and maybe keep possession for a little while, because every time they try a long-range shot or they just give possession away, they're going to be chasing the ball.
And the players forward, Matthias Sater with a useful cross in, and here's Ishmael Sofan, who draws the corner out of the Philippines defender De La Cruz. Maybe a substitution in the making here for Indonesia. Maybe a third goal, because they are looking a lot more stretched at the back now, the Philippines. Matthias Sater clips it to the back post and gives the keeper time just to gather his thoughts and double back to the 6-yard area. I think you mentioned last night, Scott, you'd like to see the dead ball situations just delivered with a little bit of pace and succinctness.
Yeah, I mean, a high floating corner like that, it makes it easy for the keeper and easier for the defenders to attack the ball, whereas if it's a low driven shot corner, it makes it very hard for the keeper to come out. He's more than likely going to stay on his line, and it makes it harder for the defenders to get in front of their attackers. So it's obviously the best way to go. But having said that, it's quite a difficult ball to play. But you'd imagine at international level here, you've got specialist players who take corners, and they're expected to do better And I'm sure when we see the likes of Thailand play that you won't see them wasting too many corners.
Ishmat Sofan's had a very good half so far, the number 4 for Indonesia. Aji Santosa was the standout wide player in the first half. He celebrated with that goal midway through the half. But all the avenue of attack has come through the right. And it's been largely through Ishmat Sofan. Kaniawan can't retain possession. And it's clipped back to the goalkeeper. I think also too that you're going to get a number of free kicks in and around the 18-yard box. I think there's just no excuse for not making the defence active when you're Indonesia, near that area. You really need to make them defend, and I just would have thought that would be in a tournament like this. The better teams would be looking to exploit that particular area.
Definitely. I mean, you see when you from the better teams and they get that situation, a dead ball situation outside the box, they can really punish teams, and it's important that they don't waste these chances. And I'm sure they spend plenty of time working on dead ball situations, and it's all well and good to do it in training, but you've got to be able to perform it under pressure in a match situation.
Aji Santosa rushing down the left. A double move here for Indonesia. A deal of confidence shown from Nanda Iskandar. We can only assume that there's no injuries out there. And there's 2 players looking to come on. Budiman, the number 2, and Gendut, who's on the park now. So Gendut Kristawan comes on for Miro Bento, and Budiman is also on the pitch. He's a fullback for Aji Santosa. Well, I think Aji Santosa may be rested here by Nanda Iskandar, because he's quite clearly in the top 2 or 3 players in his team, the captain. Definitely one of those fullbacks that you want to keep fit and fresh as the tournament grows longer. So not a bad move by the coach.
Yeah, it's they're playing every 2 or 3 days here in this tournament, and he obviously thinks that he's got this match wrapped up, and he doesn't want to. That could have been a penalty there. Risk hurting some of his key players, and Aji Santosa had a great first half, I thought, and obviously he's resting him for the next game.
Gendut Doni, the substitute, going down. Maybe a chance here for Indonesia. The back post was hit cleanly by Matthias Sader, but he didn't get over the shot. It was a defender bearing down.
A very difficult shot there to take that first time. Requires great technique and timing, and he had a go. He had the confidence to have a go, but as you said, the defender was closing him down. He may have had one eye on the defender and got underneath the ball, and it went high over the bar.
Well, a good chance for the younger players now to impress the coach. Gendut Doni and Budiman. Ishmat Sofan. He's working well with the Kaniawan. They link up well, those 2 players. Skips around another challenge, and that's a good cross in. It had to be taken cleanly, and cleanly it was taken by Edmundo Mercado, who all in all has done a pretty good job in goal. You can't fault his efforts.
No, that was a good interception there. It was a great cross, a great run, and I would have liked to have seen the striker there maybe attack the ball. It looked like he was waiting for the ball to come to him, and the keeper got him before him.
Lee Gunn with the throw. He gains 5 yards or so for the Philippines. There he is, based in Australia. You mentioned too, Daniel Sled was a college player in the United States, so bit of a chance for Philippines to bring in players from overseas, obviously Filipino background, as we saw in the Asian Cup with a couple of Australian-based Lebanese players and a few from Brazil. Houston. Let's fly with a shot or a cross, not quite sure. Anyway, it was skied over the crossbar, but he's been a productive player out of midfield, as has Mateus Sater, and they really have controlled the middle of the park. But if the Philippines can keep it to 2-0, it'll be more than a respectable result for them. They've been in the guns of a couple of teams here. Many have thought they would be the whipping boys of Group A and indeed the tournament. I'm not expected to get to the knockout stages. And I think at the back of the mind, Scott, you probably thought maybe Indonesia could put 4 or 5 past them. Yeah, definitely. And I think as the game wears on, I think there's going to be a few more chances created. But Indonesia have got to be careful that they don't fall into the trap of trying to push everyone forward to try and score the goals. They've got to be patient and they've got to keep their shape and just try and work their way past the Philippine defence. The Philippine defenders clearing the ball, I'd like to see them clear the ball and maybe try and find the feet of their own players. They're playing high balls, and the Indonesian defenders, who are quite tall, big and strong, are just getting every header. So if the Philippines are trying to keep possession, they've got to try and play the feet to the likes of Freddy Gonzales up front. And that's a good ball in behind the defence. Houston on the right came off the defender, and it's a corner there for Indonesia. Very impressed with Houston's work rate. He's always looking for the ball and always making runs into spaces. So he's done quite well tonight. He'll deliver the corner. It's a floating one too. The header was fired into the back post where Mateus Sater was lurking. No breakout here for the Philippines as Houston retains possession. Great overlapping run. Keeper's off his line. And here's a chance as the sweeper was down. And that was Sugiantoro. And that's the first time we've seen him anywhere near the penalty area. It was a great run there. He got possession of the ball. He played it wide, and then he made a run. The gap opened up for him, and it was a good ball played in. People might say that was a central defender's cross there, but it was a good run and promising for the Indonesian side. Well, maybe since he's taken the captain's armband from Argy Santoro, he's felt like it's his licence to go forward. That's the first time we've seen him in Philippines half, and that's a good shot fired in. The first real threatening shot, that time from Fred Gonzalez. In fact, it was Bernardo Goali. A couple of times we've seen him threaten. Now one from the set piece, and with a bit of momentum as well. So we've seen the Philippines with 2 genuine goal scorers. In potential anyway, Bernardo Goali and of course Fred Gonzalez. And I think if you build a team for the future, then as well as a tight defence, you need those type of players. And he may be coming off Bernardo Goali. Looks like the American college player Daniel Sleet is warming up to come on. Philippines have possession, but it's chopped out very well. And it's clipped forward. It's a lovely weighted ball down the left. Great skill here by Indonesia. And was that a foul? Looked to be eyes for the striker and not the ball, but waved on by the referee. Yeah, I don't think the Philippines defender had any intentions of going for the ball there. He just used his hip to knock the Indonesian striker away, and I wouldn't have been surprised to referee to blow his whistle there. Gonzalez involved. And this is a good move for the Philippines, but short-circuited by the big defender Sugiantoro. And Ishmat Sofan has been clearly Indonesia's best player in the second half. Uston operating deep. That was Sunandi. And the substitute Budiman. They slowly build. It's clipped into the area, but a very static 18-yard box as far as Indonesia are concerned. It's very hard to create something when it's virtually a standstill situation. You don't have quite the momentum, do you?
Very difficult ball for the striker there to do anything with. It was a high lobby ball, and the all he can do is try and head it on. He could get no power onto it at all, and he was in between two Philippine defenders, so it's very hard for him there. I'd like to see the Indonesians kick the ball on the ground. They look much better going forward with the short, crisp passing.
Gendut Doni is a player down, and he's fouled by the opposite number 22, Temporosa. He did that quite well. The Indonesian player got possession, got in front of his marker, and there was clearly fouled. So another concerning moment as Daniel Sled is on the pitch for Bernard Goali. And let's see if they can reap dividends from this set piece. Indonesia, four-man wall for the Philippines. Now the fifth joins in, Freddy Gonzalez. It's hit well, but took a deflection off the wall. And Ricardo just shows the ball to Uston. Well, I'd like to see Sugiantoro get forward a little bit more after that surging run minutes ago. He looks a pretty good athlete, and I think it's these sort of matches that I'm not saying they can experiment, but they certainly can throw caution to the wind a few times, can't they?
Yeah, definitely, especially with the Philippines only playing basically one player up front. The Indonesians have always got three back there at least, so it's 4-on-2 there, but mainly it's been 3-on-1, so there's no reason why a player like Sugiantoro can't go forward. As we saw earlier, he looks quite dangerous, and he's quite confident on the ball.
The flag was up. So Indonesia at the moment are under no threat, leading by 2-0 here in Chiang Mai. The opening match in Group A. Of course, Thailand playing Myanmar at 8 p.m. Hong Kong time, coming up after the opening ceremony, which can also be seen live on Star Sports. So all Tiger Cup action throughout Asia on Star Sports, and should be a very interesting tournament, very evenly matched, especially in Group B. Thailand and Indonesia, the standouts in Group A.
This Tiger Cup also gives the opportunity for the players in Southeast Asia to show their abilities on an international stage, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a few scouts at this tournament, particularly looking at the Thai and Indonesian players, because they are, as we said, they're technically gifted players, a lot of the Southeast Asian players, and with the right coaching and training and facilities, there's no reason why they can't go on and perform on a bigger stage.
It's a beautiful interception there by Kaniawan. He's got great awareness. And a good chance here for Indonesia. Diagonal ball played in, and the shot won't be taken. The play going down. But no whistle on play. There was contact made, but I think he lifted the eyes. He could have gone for the first attempt at goal, but really then played for the foul, Uston.
Yeah, I think it was good refereeing there to wave play on.
Slipped into the area, and that was a bit harsher contact, and they'll have to be a little bit careful with the Philippine defenders, because he just cannoned into the back of Kaniawan there. It looked to be David Figueiredo. It's a long-range ball. Knocked back to the midfield of the Philippines. This is where they get a little bit unstuck. He's had some nice moments. Temperosa since coming on. Figueiredo quickly in to the face of the area. Get a second attempt, but can't keep it in play.
That was much better play by the Philippines. They're getting their foot on the ball and just keeping possession. They may have strung about 6 or 7 passes together there, and that's what they've got to do. They've shown they can do it. They've got to do that, and then obviously the final pass letting them down, but they've got to work on that.
I think Indonesia haven't made full use of the last 20 minutes. They've created a lot of ball out of midfield, but no reward. Perhaps just playing for that 2-0 result. It's the Philippines on the break. Here's Freddy Gonzalez, who's got blistering pace. That's better play, just holds it up, waits for numbers to gather in that forward third, and now they get it. Temperosa. To be a free kick, but it wasn't paid by the referee, and that's a good break by Kaniwan down the right. This time he has to lift the eyes and sum up the situation. Clips it to the back post. It was defended well, but another chance for Indonesia. Diagonal ball played in, and Kaniwan, that was an awful mistake by the 2 Philippine defenders. Kaniwan tackled cleanly, and he goes down. They'd be not wanting to lose a player of Kaniwan's quality. Raymond Tonog was the player tackling the Indonesian number 10, who's still down on the ground, just feeling for that right ankle area. He was met pretty heavily by Tonog. Slid in with a challenge, perhaps just caught him on the right ankle.
It was a good play there, and Raymond Tonga would have to be careful there, because if I think he was quite lucky. He may have got half the ball and half the ankle, so it didn't look as bad. But if he would have mistimed that a little bit later, he could have brought Kaniwan down for a penalty.
Nine minutes of regular time remaining, and it's Indonesia 2 leading the Philippines 0 in Chiang Mai. All eyes will be on Thailand later on to see if they can get off to a very good start to this Tiger Cup campaign against Myanmar. 8 p.m. It's following the opening ceremony on Star Sports. And we've seen the comments by Peter With saying that the past is the past, and obviously been a lot of hype about Thailand and hosting the Tiger Cup. Their promising performance in the Asian Cup at Lebanon. A lot expected from the home fans. Peter With playing the mind games in the press, just keeping the players' minds on what they need to achieve. Nanda Iskandar, the Indonesian coach, just staring ahead, hoping his team will just maintain their concentration for the 90 minutes.
Philippines have looked a little bit more comfortable on the ball in these last 10 minutes. But once again, their final pass going astray.
Can they find a way through? Yes, they can on the right this time. Ishmael Solfan. Good early ball. Second goal. Third goal, yes. Well, that was a well-orchestrated move. And it's finished off in great style by Iko, who just floated into the 6-yard box. But again, there was 2 players unmarked for Indonesia. And good rewards for Ishmael Solfan, just clipping it into the area. The goalkeeper, I'm sure, after the match will have strong words to say to his defence, who have not supported him
There was a great cross in there, and I mean the Indonesians were lining up there. You've got to ask where the Philippine defence was, and the keeper was just left stranded there. But it was a good goal, getting the ball down to the line, creating a bit of space and knocking a good ball in.
I think that's perhaps more of a reflection of the way the game has gone. 2-0 would have been not a true reward for Indonesia, who've really dominated this match. Been moments that the Philippines have looked threatening. That's a brilliant shot taken on the left-hand side by Gendut Doni. Wasn't that to crack with great venom?
That was a great shot, great technique. He kept it low, a lot of power on it, and it was in the end a good save by the keeper. The Philippines have got to be careful here. They don't just throw this game away. They've worked hard. They've only conceded 3 goals. They don't want to throw a couple away in these last 5 minutes.
Perhaps the player of the future, Gendut Doni, on that performance. And that's all about blooding new players and seeing what the squad can produce. Indonesia 3, the Philippines 0. And it may not be over for the Philippines deep in this second half. There's 5 minutes of time to go before they hit the 90 minutes, and there'll be probably 2 or 3 minutes of time added on. And you would think Indonesia would be looking to slot one more past the Philippines. They're certainly playing well enough to do so.
The Philippines haven't had an ideal preparation for this Tiger Cup. I've read where they've just played some provincial teams, and obviously that's not an ideal preparation, playing against lesser opposition in your own country when they know they're going to play in the Tiger Cup, where they're going to be playing against stronger teams. It would have been better if they'd had the budget to allow them to maybe go overseas and play stronger teams in preparation for this tournament.
Sunandi, one of their central defenders. Budiman, Uston. The floating ball into the area. Not a bad one too. The player Mateus Seda outpaced the defence and clipped an attractive ball in the centre, but well defended. Aerial contest for the moment, but it's to ground now. Sugiantoro back to the goalkeeper. Komang Putra has had not a lot of work to do. Kartiko is the #1 choice in the Asian Cup anyway. Started twice against Kuwait and China. Komang Putra has got the nod here. Defender giving away possession. Freddy Gonzales holds it up and then delivers through the middle. They need a bit of luck out of the Philippines. It cannot off the defender back in the direction of that fellow striker Yanti Basalis, who really has played second fiddle to Gonzales. Well, the coach of the Philippines, Rodolfo Alicante, was the assistant to Juan Gutilis 2 years ago. I'm sure he'll take some pretty strong lessons away from this match. In the group, of course, with Thailand and Myanmar. And here's number 4 coming up. No. Again, a very good save by Mikado. Looked almost certain like it would sneak past and go in near the near post. But he did well. Just stayed down. Was looking for the low shot, but had the reflex to tip it wide. There's a player going up and then down and fouled Edmundo Mercado.
I think he'd be pretty happy with his performance tonight. He's pulled off a couple of good saves and kept the Philippines in the game. But once again, Indonesia look dangerous when they get the ball and they're playing wall passes off their strikers. A good effort there before the corner.
I don't think the surface here has overly helped the players in Chiang Mai. A little bit uneven, inconsistent bounce. Bobbles up. Obviously very hard for the strikers to sometimes gain clean purchase on the shots. Gendut again finds the target, but this time straight down the lap of Mercado. But he moves well. He's a big striker, Gendut Doni.
He's not scared to have a shot. That's his second shot he's had on target there. And once again, his technique looks very good. He's just got to improve his accuracy.
Well, 2 minutes of time added on. 700th anniversary stadium in Chiang Mai. And the Philippines go down to Indonesia here. Perhaps the scoreline everybody was expecting as well. Philippines have numbers at the back. Here's Freddy Gonzalez breaking through the middle, but the cross was poorly delivered. Needed a little bit of quality in that situation. May have threatened the Indonesian goal. Ishmat Sofan. And it's just getting away there from Temperosa.
I think overall, I think Indonesia would be happy with their performance tonight. 3 goals, haven't conceded any, and not really looked like conceding any goals except for the free kick in the first half. They've looked pretty strong at the back and comfortable playing the ball around the midfield. Maybe their finishing they could be a little bit disappointed with, but as we said, the field looks like it's quite hard and a little bit bumpy, so maybe we can give the strikers the benefit of the doubt for their miscued shots.
There's not a lot of give in the pitch. Looks pretty unforgiving on the players. Of course, the opening ceremony will follow this particular match. Feature some traditional dance from Thailand. And then the main event, Thailand playing Myanmar at 8 p.m. to kick off their Tiger Cup campaign. Of course, the current SEA Games champions. Now we're looking to add another trophy to their list.
Yeah, they deserve to be favourites for this tournament. They're the benchmark for Southeast Asian football, and they've really gone ahead in leaps and bounds. And but as Peter With said, he said while they're trying to chase the likes of the stronger teams in Asia, he's concerned that the other Southeast Asian nations are catching up to them. So they've got to keep on improving if they want to continue to dominate the Southeast Asian football.
We'll see how they perform a bit later on, but it's Indonesia who take the points in the opening match of Group A, and they were quite convincing. The first half they scored through their captain Aji Santosa, the best goal of the match perhaps, chipping the goalkeeper in sublime fashion, and in the second half Kinnear 1 scored. Eco added in the 83rd minute, so after 93 minutes it's Indonesia 3, the Philippines 0, and that's another look at Aji Santosa's opening goal. Superb finish, really. Playing the 1-2 with Kinnear 1.
So Indonesia, they're hardly breaking sweat, but doing the business and beating Philippines by a score of 3-0. Do stay with us, because when we come back, we will have Scott O'Donnell back again for our post-match wrap. And don't forget as well, at 8 p.m. Hong Kong time, we will have that crunching match. Thailand taking on neighbours Myanmar. Expect the Chiang Mai Stadium to be packed for that one. Do stay tuned. We come back in a few moments' time. Okay. Yep. Okay, so after highlights, throw to another break, yeah? Okay, so let me know when you find we've gone on enough, and then we'll throw to that break. Okay. Here comes Scott. Good thing you're still in fairly good physical shape, Scott.
Start wearing my running shoes, I think, right?
I forgot to tell you earlier, sorry, if Joe says, you know, like just now to wrap up on vision, and this sounds like to just wrap up, so you just wrap up at your own pace, because sometimes I know you can't hear Joe, so it's hard for you.
Right.
Yeah, so like just now we were talking on vision, because Joe wanted you to go to the commentary booth already, so I was trying to tell you to wrap up, because obviously you can't stop in mid-sentence, yeah? Yeah, so this would be like a sign to wrap up if you're off camera. Yeah, like Joe said, just finish the sentence, and you can calmly run to the booth, calmly run. Yeah. Joe was just saying it's not a bad game considering.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wait for Laos, Cambodia, Joe. Welcome back. You're live on Star Sports, and we've just had the final whistle blown in that Group A encounter between Indonesia and the Philippines. And you have to say it's a very comfortable day for Indonesia. Ali Santoso, Kurniawan and Eko giving them a comfortable 3-0 victory and the 3 points as well. With me here in our Star Sports studio is our football analyst, Scott O'Donnell. Scott, your thoughts on the second 45 minutes?
I think Indonesia did what they had to do. I don't really think they got into top gear. They played quite well. Weren't really tested defensively and played some good football and came away with a comfortable 3-0 victory.
A couple of goals were scored in the second half. We now take a look at those goals as well as those best moments in the second 45 minutes. A good shot there from the Indonesian, the Kurniawan, trying very hard to break the deadlock there. But I think, back to your point, Scott, they didn't really break sweat, did they?
No, I think they weren't really tested. I think this was Houston who had a good shot. He had 2 good shots in the second half and showed great technique in getting the power on the ball. That's
right. I think Kurniawan's shot should be coming up just around here. And Mercado did handle himself well, the Philippine goalkeeper, always under threat to keep it down to 3-0 as a fairly respectable scoreline.
Yeah, his positioning here was quite good. He cut down the angle, and Kurniawan really didn't have much option. He had to try and power it through him because he had no angle to try and place the ball.
Well, the spotlight, I suppose, will be on Kurniawan in the absence of Rocky Putre and also Bambang, and he was fairly lucky later on when he got a goal for Indonesia. There we had another attack from the Indonesians, the ball just being cleared for a corner. But here they come once again. This was the goal we were talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was poor defending by the Philippines. They had the ball over on the right-hand side. They played around with it. Instead of clearing it, it was a poor clearance, and in the end, a good finish.
You have to say, though, I mean, he did deserve a goal for all his work all throughout the match.
He worked very hard up front, and as you said, he deserved a goal, and a little bit lucky with the deflection there, but having said that, he was in the right spot at the right time.
A great 1-2 pass here, and this is what we were talking about, carving the defence open. Sugiantoro, a very big, strong player coming through, but I think he was just beaten by the angle there.
Yeah, that was a good play by Sugiantoro. He got possession of the ball, played it wide and made a good run through and caught the Philippine defence by surprise.
At this point in time, it was Indonesia 2, Philippines 0, and there was a question of whether or not they would score a third goal, and there the third goal came. Bad defending though, Scott.
It was a great ball in by Houston, I think it was, and a great finish. As you can see there, the Indonesians are lining up there to put that ball in.
It could have been 4 as well. Indonesia, by this point in time, they were just bringing on their substitutes. Gendut, a youngster, came on for a run out. And your point was that you should try to use these matches to experiment, shouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And once again, that was another good strike and a good save. And when the Indonesian coach knew that he had the the game wrapped up, he introduced a few young players, and that's what he's got to do in these sort of tournaments to give them the exposure they need for future.
Now, if you were Thailand watching this match, if you were Peter With, should you be worried about Indonesia at all?
Obviously, they'll be concerned, and they would have taken note of that game. But I mean, Thailand are the sort of team who, in this sort of tournament, in a Southeast Asian tournament, they know that they've got quality players, and I think they'll be more worried about their own play. And if they perform, they'll be confident if they perform up to their ability that they should be able to win it.
Thank you very much, Scott. So Indonesia, they're beating the Philippines, getting 3 points, scoring 3 goals. And we go for a quick break right now, but do stay tuned because when we come back, we will have the opening ceremony of the Tiger Cup live from Chiang Mai. Stay with us then. Keep Scott there. Okay, so we'll come back. We'll just chat, Scott and myself. I guess we'll talk about maybe players, the Indonesian players, anyone who impressed. Do you want to maybe queue up the goals on overlay again? Okay, okay. That's professionalism for you, man. Yeah, so we're going to come back to us. We're going to chat. And then we might overlay on the goals once again, 3 goals that were scored. And then when they are ready to throw over to David, we're going to throw to David. Yeah. Joe, it will be David Bashir, right? Okay. Okay, so Scott has the dash as well, yeah? Okay. So do you want to come back live to them or come back to us? Okay. Okay. So we'll still chat at our own pace, yeah? Sure. So we probably won't use the overlay of the goals. Okay. Yeah, this is a simple short chat when we come back because they're almost ready. And then once Joe decides. Very pretty girls in general, because it's near China. Right. Joe. Joe does when young Thai girls. Whatever turns you on, Joe. Art, you don't have to. You face it.
Joe. And from 140 girls from Chiang Mai College of the Technology, please.
Okay, Scott, you can decate, they want you there. Okay. You can take off, they want you there, same thing. Yeah, the last bolt we do, what Joe says. Take care, man, have fun. Thanks for staying with us right here on Star Sports, and we are live with the Tiger Cup. Just wrapped up Group A opening match, of course, between Indonesia and the Philippines. The Indonesians picking up 3 points and scoring 3 goals as they beat the Philippines by a scoreline of 3-0. Coming up in a short while, at just about 8 p.m. Hong Kong time, we will have Thailand versus Myanmar live. But before that, though, we now take you to the Chiang Mai Stadium, where we do have some lovely pictures of the northern Thai ladies doing a traditional Thai dance there. Stadium was fairly empty early on between Indonesia and the Philippines, but it's good to see that the Thai people have come out in support of their country, in support of their team. And just in hours' time, Thailand will be taking on Myanmar on this very same pitch. Your match commentators there for the opening ceremony will be David Bashir and Scott O'Donnell.
Welcome back to the 700th anniversary stadium, the opening ceremony of the 3rd Tiger Cup. We have some traditional Thai dance, Sampulong dance, performed to
just got us into the ceremonial mood for the Tiger Cup, and also to warm up for the Thai national team, who will be playing Myanmar a bit later on, 8 p.m. Hong Kong time. Great shot of the main stadium, and the crowd is building up. This is a dance of the northern region of Thailand. To see the ceremony and culture of Thailand coming out in the opening ceremony. The young women of Thailand looking resplendent in their traditional wear. I'm sure there will be smiles aplenty if they can open up their campaign against Myanmar in grand style. And that was a Sampulong dance, traditional performance in the north of Thailand.
Participating of the show 140 girls from Chiang Mai College of Technology.
And we're just about to see the Montfort School Band. They're about to perform.
ครับในลำดับต่อไปนั้นวงโยธ
The
วาทิต
Asian
ของ
Football Federation flag and players from the 9 participating teams in the Asian Cup.
ธงการแข่งขันพร้อมทั้ง
And the crowd is just steadily building up.
ทีมเข้าสู่สนาม700 ปี
In
ครับ
Chiang Mai, should be a marvellous contest, really. Myanmar are yet to prove themselves at this level, and Thailand have a lot to prove. I'm sure if they performed well below their Asian Cup performance in Lebanon, Scott, they'll be in for some rude shocks, because there's some teams ready to take their mantle here.
Definitely, and I know Dave Booth, the manager of, or the coach of Myanmar, who used to be the coach of the Brunei national team, he's come out in the press to say that he's looking for at least a semi-final berth, which is a big ask, considering he's got to get over the likes of Thailand and Indonesia to get through to the semi-finals in Group A. But he's a good coach, and he knows how to get the best out of his players. And as we spoke about earlier, he's not concerned about when his team's got possession of the ball. It's when they haven't got possession of the ball and their positioning. So he's had 6 or 7 months to work on that. It'll be interesting to see how confident he is.
And what do the players feel when they have to be involved in opening ceremonies? It must be a big thrill to represent a region or a country at this level.
Definitely, and I don't know whether the players who are playing later on tonight will be actually involved in the ceremony. I'll be surprised if that's the case, because they don't want to be standing around an hour and a half before the game. But as you said, it's a big honour to participate in the Tiger Cup for these players. They're representing their countries, and they'll be all going out to do their countries proud.
The home fans just leaking into the stadium. Holds about 24,000 the capacity. In Chiang Mai, of course, the final will be played in Bangkok.
ของ AFF Flag หรือ ASEAN Football Federation เข้าสู่สนามพร้อมทั้งทีมการแข่งขันครับ
Just waiting for the band and the Asian Federation flag to come out.
AFF ASEAN Football Federation flag
The Tiger Cup's more important now for the national team players now. The SEA Games is now only open to under-23 players, so this is the only chance for the Southeast Asian nations to participate against each other at the full international level.
I think good move too, because you can't have too many, you know, elite senior tournaments to have the Tiger Cup as the pinnacle. It's only got a 6-year history now, but I think it's a good move because the younger players, also good for Asian teams in their bid to qualify for the Olympic Games, to have another elite under-23 competition.
Definitely, in the past for the under-23 teams, there's been no official avenue for the teams to prepare for the Olympics, apart from the Olympic qualifying tournaments. So this SEA Games now will create an opening for these under-23 teams to compete against the other Southeast Asian nations.
Very colourful sight. This, the Montfort School Band. And they're marching out, and they should be accompanied by the Asian Football Federation flag. Certainly in the sort of formation that the Philippines would have liked in their defence, I would have thought.
Positive for the Philippines in that earlier game was that at least they got numbers behind the ball, which I'm sure their coach would have been happy with. Just a matter of organising it a little bit better.
There's the Cambodian national team, representatives of, and the applause, a warm round of applause from the fans. We know what the state of Cambodian domestic football has been in the past couple of years. It's been shaky, to say the least. There was floods and sponsorship trouble, but they've done very well to get a team on the park, and they looked at times very good against Singapore in their opening match last night. They went down by 1-0, but Cambodia will be looking for a result against Laos in their group, perhaps an outside chance to sneak into the semi-finals.
It was a great performance by Cambodia last night, and I think they can be well pleased with their effort. And as you said, David, to be able to field a team here and the players dressed up in their national attire with their blazers, they can be very proud to be representing their country. When you look at the facilities they've got to train in and compare them with the likes of Singapore, Malaysia and Thailand, I think they've done very well. They're a relatively young team. They've got a stable management in the Cambodian Federation with their German coach, and he's done relatively well considering the conditions he's had to work under.
Joachim Fickert, the German coach since 1998, and to consider they were semi-finalists in the Asian Cup way back in 1972, so they've had some success. Laos are just ranked a little bit below Cambodia in reckoning for Group B, and I think they perhaps will struggle to get a point in that particular group. But still a great thrill for the players to be involved in this opening ceremony, and the 1989 SEA Games champions Malaysia. They were winless in